Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and welcome to the next video in my deck collection series. Today we'll be taking a look at my Celestial and Goddess-inspired decks. So these are the decks that tap into cosmic consciousness, as well as decks that focus on Goddess and Moon energy. Some of them have a bit of an earthy vibe, some have an otherworldly feel, while others feel very connected to divinity. There are a total of 12 decks featured in this video, and you will find a complete list in the description box below. As I've mentioned before, I've included both Tarot and Oracle in this video, but you'll find all of the Oracle decks at the end. Let's tap into the universal energy of my Celestial and Goddess Tarot and Oracle decks. Okay, we're going to start things off with one of my favorite sort of cosmic decks, and that is the Star Tarot. Now, this deck, I do have a review up on it, and I do also have a video about modifying this deck. So I have taken all of the borders off, including the titles, because this is a deck that I know really, really well, and I don't really need the titles. And I think it looks so much better like this. I just adore this deck. I love the artwork. It is so fun and it is so detailed, and the guidebook is amazing. I know I don't talk about guidebooks much in these videos, but like I really do love guidebooks. I'm probably going to do a different video on my favorite guidebooks because that's how much I love guidebooks. And this would be, the guidebook for this would be top of my list. Look how beautiful that card is. It's just, there's so much detail in these cards, and everything that you see here in the card is there for a reason, and that's noted in the guidebook. And I really appreciate it when the artist or the deck creator does that, and I think that's really fabulous, and it just adds a whole nother level to your readings. It's just it's a gorgeous deck. It's a great reader. I get fantastic readings with this deck, but again, I won't go into too much detail because I do have a full, very detailed review up on my channel if you want to check that out. So that is the Star Tarot. Up next, we have the Cosmic Tarot, which is another one of my favorite little cosmic decks. Love the backs too. Now, I have trimmed this one. I've trimmed it down to just the titles, and I did feature this in my deck mod video, and I've edged it in various colors. This is a deck that is just like, it's so like 80s. I don't even know when it was made, but it just feels very like 80s to me, and I just love it. Whoops, throwing the King of Cups around. But really, it's the color palette. And the images are just, I don't know. They're just funny to me. Like, I don't know. Okay, maybe it's just me. I'm seriously not like making fun of it. I absolutely adore this deck. I think this is an awesome world card. It's just a deck that makes me happy. So that's all it is. Like, this is so weird. I love it because I love the symbology of it. I really do. You never see this kind of, or you shouldn't say never, you hardly ever see this kind of symbology of like the swords actually being of the mind, and the, you know, what he's putting out there, rather than, you know, you normally see the 10 swords like stuck into the body, and the swords is not about the body, it's about the mind. So I mean, I love it. That's one of the things I love about this deck. Is, you know, as kind of funny as it is, like they all have like weird little rays coming out of their eyes and stuff. And she's beautiful though. It's just, I think it's really like spot on actually. If you can kind of get past some of the kind of, you know, some of the artwork. Some of the artwork's not my favorite, but the way that it reads is really fabulous, and that's really what it comes down to. That's what's most important, right? Is the way that it reads. So for me, this is just a super clear reader. I love the images. I really love the color palette. Like, it's just, look at that. It's gorgeous. And you know the other thing about this deck, even trimmed, and I'm just totally getting off subject here, but even trimmed, this deck freaking shuffles like a dream, and you never get that with a trimmed deck, or hardly ever get that with a trimmed deck. Like, oh, this is hands down my favorite deck to shuffle, because it is the perfect size for me to shuffle, and it just, it shuffles so beautifully and bridges back together. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I am so like drawn to this deck and attached to this deck, because I just love shuffling it. But it does read great, so I flipped it the wrong way. I really am trying to stay consistent. So that is the Cosmic Tarot. So up next we have another deck that I trimmed, and I just realized that all three of these decks that I've shown have been trimmed. This is my Crystal Tarot, which I've shown many times on my channel. It's a little Scarabeo deck. I trimmed it all the titles off, and it's just, it's one of my favorites. This deck could have gone in a lot of different categories. It does have a very sort of earthy feel. It does have a kind of an otherworldly feel. But the reason that I put it in my sort of celestial and goddess decks, but this is not a goddess deck, it just does kind of have a bit of a cosmic feel to me. And I don't know if it's the colors maybe that do, but it feels more cosmic than it does earthy, even though, like, look at this. This is a very earthy kind of card, but it still has a bit of a cosmic feel to me. And it's loosely based on Picard miners, which I absolutely love. Look at that tower. Look how beautiful. So I don't know. I mean, you might not have put it in this, grouped it in with this kind of category, but I think, like I said, I don't even remember which video I said it in. You know, I had to draw the line somewhere, or because all of my decks they kind of all meld and flow through these few different categories, and a lot of them could be, you know, could find a home very easily in multiple categories. So I kind of just had to pick and choose so to get my videos at least somewhat balanced. Look how awesome. I just love him. Anyway, it's a great deck. It's a fabulous reader. It's definitely Pip style. But I've talked about this deck at length on my channel. I do have a review coming, so I won't go into too much detail now, but it's definitely one of my favorites. I do tote it around with me from time to time. So that is the Crystal Tarot. Okay, up next is a deck that I have not trimmed yet, but I am planning on it because we're just got a theme going here. This is the Spiral Tarot. And this is a deck that I have, I want to say, overlooked for a really long time. And I really do. I think it's because of these borders. These borders are really awful. As I'm throwing cards around. I did just get this one, so I haven't done any readings with it. But I had a coupon. I ordered some things, and this one I was just like, yeah, I'm finally gonna do it. I'm finally gonna go ahead and get this one. And I really do love the artwork. Now that I have it in hand, like, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. But I think you don't ever really get a chance to appreciate the artwork or really even notice it because you're just so distracted by all this going on. I mean, you've got the purple border and the red border and the white border and the title and the copyright, and it's just like, I think it's just overwhelming. I think I've just never given this deck any attention because I've just been so put off by the borders. But you know what? I can take the borders off, and that is definitely on my plan of things to do. The thing that I love about this deck, and I kind of skipped past it, so I love that the majors are kind of like, they're kind of cosmic and otherworldly. So they have a very like cosmic, and I kind of see them as being like, you know, universal consciousness type of energy. Now, granted, I have not even read the book, the little booklet that came with this deck, so I could be totally off my rocker. But that's just the vibe I get from it. It's like very, very cosmic. So you get like, here, as above, so below. And you get this very earthy, very back in the you know, in the mundane, back in the grit of life in your minors, and I really like that interplay. Anyway, that's just kind of one of the things that now that I have the deck in hand, I've really noticed, is that you get that, and I think a lot of people have said like, oh, it's like, it's inconsistent, but I don't think it is, because I think that, granted, caveat, I have not read the book, but I feel like that is kind of was the intention. Like, the majors are very, you know, cosmic and otherworldly, and the, you know, the as above, and this is like, this is down in, you know, the nitty gritty of daily living, and that's kind of how the, you know, minors and majors are structured to be. So I just love that about this deck, and I am talking way too much about a deck that I have actually never even used, but that was just what I noticed. This is really just my first impressions, because I really just got this deck. but I don't think that you really even notice the gorgeous artwork because I think that border just takes it away. So I will be trimming it, and I will do a video on it just so you can see it, in case you were maybe thinking about getting this deck or have this deck and the borders cause you an issue. So that is the Spiral Tarot. Next we have the Tarot of Transformation. This is a deck that I'm still in the process of studying, and if you've watched some of my other earlier videos, you know, I've talked about it then. The artwork in this deck is phenomenal. Like, I just absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous. And reading the book, so there is a nice book that comes with it, which of course I don't have at hand. But the book does have some really interesting information about the artwork itself and the inspiration behind some of these images, which I have really enjoyed. So far, I'm not loving the keywords on the top. Again, I think I mentioned that in a different video, but the artwork, oh, so more than makes up for any little flaws of this deck. And the artwork is so beautiful that I could even forgive this terrible, terrible paper cardstock. You know, I'm just going to reback it just to give it some stability. So anyway, I just think this is a total soul deck. It's so fabulous. I love the artwork in it. I really want to trim it. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to trim it, but I mean, I think it'd be gorgeous just down to the imagery, but not sure if I want to really lose the titles. Thinking I probably want to lose the keywords because I'm not terribly fond of those, but just an absolute gorgeous deck. I do like that they're color coded. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, definitely a deck I'm still working on, still getting to know, but so far I really do love it. The artwork is just absolute gorgeous. So that is the Tarot of Transformation. Okay, so up next we have the Sun and Moon Tarot, and this deck is in the stages of being modified, and there's a story that goes along with this, but I'm not going to get into that because that's actually coming in a different video, so I will just show you the images. This is not how it comes. I have cut both sides off of this deck. This is a very Thoth-based deck, but I don't read Thoth, so I don't read it that way, and I think it works, you know, just ignore the keywords and it works great. Although the keywords for the most part, they really do, they work well with the imagery. But I just love this imagery. I think it is so cute. I love that the people are faceless, and I wasn't really sure that I would, but it's just like a really sweet little deck. And I've done a lot of readings with it too, and it reads really well. Again, I don't read Thoth, so I just read it using my own, my own tarot knowledge, and it works great for that. Like, look at the Hierophant. Look how cute he is. Love that. Anyway, it's just a sweet little deck. I really enjoy working with it. I got one upside down. But the other thing I want to show you, and they are kind of mixed together because, like I said, I'm in the middle of trimming it. So these are, here, let me if I do this. So you have the pentacles are all in this yellow color. This yellowy orange. The wands are all in this black color, which I think is totally awesome. The cups are all in this blue color. And then you have your majors are just in, all kinds of colors. And then you have your swords are in this light blue color, which I think is really cool. And that's one of the things I really like about this deck. But yeah, it's a great little reader, and I love the artwork. It's really simple, it's really sweet, but it definitely gets its message across, and I think that's really great. So that is the Sun and Moon Tarot. Okay, now we're moving into my couple of goddess themes tarot. This is the Mythical Goddess Tarot, and I love the backs of these cards. These are gorgeous. I've been doing a lot of goddess study, and so that's the reason I've gotten some goddess decks. The artwork is really, it's quite simple, but it's quite powerful and pretty in this deck. I'm not really sure about these borders, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, they're a little bit distracting to me, but I can still read with this deck just fine. I definitely do have to rely on the book, because when some of the goddesses come up, I'm not familiar with them, or or their energy or their story. But I do really like the artwork. It's just simple, but it's really powerful. It's really, really pretty. This deck reads really well just to do a general reading with, but I've been using it kind of in some combination with study. I did have to take a break when I was ill, but I'm hoping to get back to it here really soon. So I haven't done a ton of work with it yet. I'd kind of just gotten started when things went a little haywire for me. But really it was the artwork that drew me to this deck, because I really think the artwork is really beautiful, and it's, you know, it's a reasonably priced deck. It's easy to get a hold of, it's mass market, it's not like, if you're looking for a goddess deck, it's a goddess tarot, because there's a lot of great goddess oracles, but I wanted a goddess tarot. So still planning on getting a goddess oracle. I have one, but anyway, off track. But it is a really good deck. I just, you know, like I said, not sure about the borders, but I love the artwork and it reads really well. So it's just a beautiful little deck. So that is the Mythical Goddess Tarot. So up next we have a deck that I was so excited about that I did an unboxing on my channel. This is the Dark Goddess Tarot, and I've only put the top down here because the box has no finger holes, and if you put them together while it's empty, it's damn near impossible to get the bottom back out, so just FYI. The backs are really pretty cool. This is a deck that I had my eye on for a really long time, and finally decided to just go ahead and get it, mostly because, to be perfectly honest, it was kind of really a FOMO thing. Like, I knew it was a deck that I wanted to work with eventually, but I was afraid it wasn't going to be there when I actually got around to working with it. So I went ahead and got it. Because like I said, I've been doing, you know, working on some goddess study, and this, I definitely wanted to use this deck alongside of it. I did buy the expanded guidebook as well because I hear that is fantastic. This imagery is really simple, but it's very, very powerful, and it definitely gives you feels when you look at it. Again, I haven't done a ton of work with it. I love this card. This is like one of my favorite cards in this whole deck. I don't know what it is about that card, but it does things to me. I might have even mentioned that in my unboxing. So I really haven't done much in the way of readings with this deck. I've just been, you know, working through the images and the guidebook and that kind of thing. So it's super gorgeous. It's super powerful. I'm so glad that I have got it. I've been trying to get a hold of Tarot of the Crone, which is by the same artist, and yeah, haven't had any luck getting my hands on that one, but I am on the lookout. But yeah, it's just, it's such a powerful deck. Like, super powerful. Love it. The cardstock, to be perfectly honest with you, kind of feels like that Make Plain cardstock, but I mean, it's fine. I don't mind Make Plain cardstock, but for people who are like really into cardstock, just FYI, it's not like the best cardstock ever. But you know, I don't know that I really care about cardstock all that much. As long as it's usable and it works well for me, then yeah. I mean, some of the best decks I have not great cardstock, but I love them anyway. So anyway, totally different subject for a different time. So absolutely love this deck. Super excited to dig into it more. I think it's definitely a deck that, unless you're super familiar with goddesses, which I am not because I'm still learning, I think that the guidebook is super handy, the expanded guidebook. So I totally recommend that to go along with it. So that is the Dark Goddess Tarot. My other Goddess Tarot that I have is, it says it's a tarot, but it's not a tarot in, like, it doesn't have 78 cards. So it's not a traditional tarot, but it does have the majors along with some additional cards. So I see it more as an oracle, to be perfectly honest. And it comes in this gigantic box, which is going to be rehomed into a bag, but I haven't done that yet. So this is the Triple Goddess Tarot, and I'm going to move this out of the way because it's big and obnoxious. This is the backs, which are, you know, I'm not a fan, but it's okay. So the reason I bought this deck was because, for one, it had goddesses, and I think the artwork is absolutely beautiful, and that was the main reason I was drawn to it. The second reason I bought this deck was because it has the chakra cards, and I have been doing quite a bit of chakra study as of late, and I'm working through learning more about my chakras, so that was really cool. And that was really what I was looking for some chakra cards to serve as a base for other readings, and that serves that purpose wonderfully. So as far as the goddess cards, I haven't really worked with them at all. I've only really worked with the chakra cards, but the artwork is beautiful. I love the artwork. I really couldn't tell you much about how it reads. I do think I might trim it because the borders is kind of pretty and intricate as they are. I think are kind of a bit distracting and kind of conflict a little bit with the imagery, especially when you have some conflicting colors. Not contrasting in a good way, but conflicting. But I think the artwork is really beautiful and I really like it. And I think it would just be a lot more powerful if maybe it was just the artwork. So we'll see how that goes. Again, haven't used it. Not entirely sure what I'm going to use these cards for, to be perfectly honest with you. I do intend to read the book. I did start on the book actually. And then I got sidetracked with getting sick. But it did have the chakra cards that I wanted, and that was the main thing. And I probably spent way too much money for, you know, a set of chakra cards. But I really do think the goddesses are beautiful, so I will find something to do with them if I don't end up using them for readings. It's really not a problem because I do a lot of crafting too. So anyway, so that is the Triple Goddess Tarot. Next up, we have my newest oracle. This is the Moon Oracle, and it comes in this gigantic box, and it does have a guidebook, but huge, so I'm gonna set it aside. The card backs are pretty cool. I don't know if it'll catch on camera, but they're like this silvery color with this sort of faded, I don't even know what you call that, like embossed. It's not embossed though, it's flat. Anyway, this deck is still totally in order. It has all the different phases of the moon. As you can see here, more phases of the moon. It has keywords to go with it. I've done a little bit of research on this deck before purchasing it, but I really can't tell you in detail what most of the stuff is for yet. And the reason I bought this one is because I do want to start doing some more detailed moon work, and I wanted these cards to help with that. It does have a set of goddess cards, so again, goes along with my goddess study, so that was just kind of bonus for me. And it has a couple of other cards. We see Night, Vision Fountain, Altar. So, you know, really can't tell you what all these cards are for at this point, but I'm super excited to find out. So I've been following a lot of people who have been using this deck, and I've seen it used in a lot of interesting ways, so I'm really excited to be able to dig into that and work with that with my deeper moon work and some of my goddess work, and kind of trying to tie all that together with tarot, like all in one. That's my goal. So there you go. That is the Moon Oracle. And finally, we have my last two oracles, which are actually, I have put them into one gigantic oracle. So this is the Blue Messiah reading cards and the Cosmic reading cards. So these, I'll show you the backs of both because I really didn't do that. So Blue Messiah, Cosmic reading cards. And of course I've edged them. I mixed this, I did trim this. So it did have numbers at the top, and I went into more detail about that in my deck mod video if you're interested, but it does not come this way. It comes with full borders with numbers. Anyway, I love this deck. This deck is so fantastic. These two decks, I should say. See, I forget that it's actually two decks because I'm so used to working with them together. I love the cards. I love the keywords. This is another one of those decks that for the most part, every keyword and every image really resonates and really works well in multiple different avenues. I just think the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. I love pairing this with all of my sort of cosmic, celestial, and goddess decks. It works really well, but it actually works really well with just about any kind of deck too. The keywords, they do have fabulous books for both of these decks. The books are fabulous. They're Rockpool Publishing decks, and their guidebooks are fantastic. They have full color images. They're written really well. They're just fantastic. However, that being said, I don't ever use the books. Between the artwork and the keywords, there is enough, more than enough, on these cards to give me, you know, what I need to help me find a message. So, and I just love the color palette, and Look how beautiful. Looks like she's glowing. I love that. Anyway, it's just a gorgeous deck, or gorgeous 2 decks. See, I forget that it's 2 decks. They are gorgeous decks. And if you have both, I highly recommend just mixing them on together because they work really beautifully together. And it's just fantastic. So there you go. So that is the Blue Messiah reading cards and the Cosmic reading cards. Thank you so much for checking out my collection of Celestial and Goddess Tarot and Oracle decks. I would love to hear about the Cosmic or Divine decks in your collection or your thoughts on the ones I have shown here, so feel free to leave a comment below. And if you'd like to check out the rest of my deck collection, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click that little bell for notifications. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you will join me again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.